Ceremony for the class of 2019. My name is John Densmore. I am Associate Dean for Admissions and Student Affairs and also Dean of Hunter College. It's truly an honor to welcome such an extremely talented group of students to the school, and we're really proud to have you here. Also welcome to Old Capitol Hall and to the University of Virginia for those who are here for the first time. This building was originally known as the Academical Building. It is one of the three buildings that was designed and built in 1898 on the south end of the lawn. The building was then renamed for Joseph Cabell, a member of the Board of Visitors, and now serves as the home for the music department and the music library. If we go back to the end of the century, or the 19th century, that was a period of tremendous progress in public health and sanitation, when the benefits of sanitation and clean water were recognized. With the advent of germ theory, physicians strove to be more scientific in their practice and their dress. The white coat embodied this new philosophy. White is the color of hope, and the lab coat is a symbol of the healer. Surgeons became the first to wear the white coat, followed by hospital physicians and finally general practitioners, and by 1915 it had become the norm for physicians. The white coat reminds physicians of their professional duties as prescribed by Hippocrates, to lead their lives and practice their art in respectability and honor. In 1993, the Arnold P. Gold Foundation, Columbia University College of Physicians and Surgeons, had the first white coat ceremony. This has now been adopted by many U.S. medical schools, including ours. The ceremony is performed for the incoming class at the beginning of each academic year. With it, the University Medical Alumni Association and the School of Medicine welcome students into the family of medicine by which they join faculty, staff, relatives, and friends as they receive their new uniform. The white coat ceremony, as envisioned by Dr. Gold, welcomes those embarking on their medical careers to the community of physicians by giving them this powerful symbol of compassion and power, and honor. It also gives them a standard against which they must measure their every act of care to the patients who trust them. Before I move on to the program, I'd like to recognize several individuals with us today. First, I'd like to introduce my three fellow college deans. If you guys could each rise. The Dean of Douglaston College, Dr. Meg Keeley. Dean of Penn College, Dr. Chris Peterson. Dr. Sean Reed. I would also like to thank our many student and faculty volunteers for their assistance, as well as the staff of the Medical Alumni Association. I'd also like to acknowledge Dr. Charlie Henderson, who's with us today. Dr. Henderson is president of the... President of the Medical School Foundation's Board of Trustees and representative for the School of Medicine's class of 1965. That class has been very generous, and their donations have underwritten the costs of the white coats you're going to get today, this ceremony, and the reception to follow. A big thank you to Dr. Henderson and his classmates for their support. I'd also like to thank the family and friends who joined us today for this very special occasion. You will hear several times today how talented these young people are, but you already knew that. So we really appreciate you joining us on this special occasion. Now I'll move to our first speaker, Lauren Evers. Lauren's a member of the medical school class of 2016 and currently serves as president of the Mulholland Society. She was born and raised in Galveston, Texas. Went to Washington University in St. Louis, where she graduated in 2012. She's a member of the Alpha Omega Alpha Honor Society and the Gold Humanism Honor Society, and currently preparing to apply to residency in internal medicine. Please give Lauren a warm UVA welcome.
Good afternoon and welcome, class class of 2019, family members, friends, and faculty. I am honored to be here to celebrate with you all on this special day and to welcome you to the University of Virginia School of Medicine on behalf of the student body. Today symbolizes the official start of your journey into the medical profession. You have all worked incredibly hard, likely with the support of many of the people that join us in the audience today, to reach this milestone on your path towards becoming a physician. After you receive your white coat, you will finally be able to look the part. More importantly though, with this coat on your shoulders, you will acquire the knowledge and skills needed to become a doctor. Its color will remind you of the sanctity of being allowed the privilege to listen to and take care of people during a time when they are incredibly vulnerable. Its short length will be a daily, humbling reminder that you are a lifelong student of medicine, charged with learning from your peers, the physicians senior to you, and the patients you care for. Your white coat will also serve as a form of protection, both literally and figuratively, as well as a source of strength. I can't tell you how many times its insulating polyester blend has kept me warm, shielded me from the rain, and been a barrier to the sun when I forgot to wear sunblock. Metaphorically speaking, wearing this coat will give you the extra boost of confidence needed to interview and examine standardized patients and take care of sick patients in the hospital. Your coat's many pockets, though they may seem excessive right now, will come to hold many items that will comfort and sustain you during medical school. They will hold your pens, patient notes, reflex hammers, stethoscope, mini textbooks, cell phones, surgical tape, and most importantly, your snacks. Oh, and a Tide-to-Go pen. That's been really essential. I'll go ahead and break it to you though. Tide-to-Go pen or not, today is the whitest your coat will ever be. Like mine, your coat will be with you during many exciting medical school firsts. I wore mine the first time I delivered a baby, the first time I made a diagnosis, the first time I placed an IV, and the first time I went to help harvest organs for a transplant surgery. Unfortunately, wearing a white coat isn't always easy or fun. The road towards becoming a physician will have its fair share of bumps along the way. There will be times that you feel overwhelmed by the sheer amount of material to be mastered, or exhausted after spending seemingly every moment in the hospital. There will also be sad firsts too, like when you lose your first patient to a cancer he was diagnosed with just 3 weeks before. With the encouragement of family and friends though, you will persevere, and in doing so come to see how fulfilling this profession can be, even at its most challenging. For me, this was most vividly demonstrated when I saw a very sick patient come back to the floor from the ICU and then eventually go home with his family after upwards of 6 weeks in the hospital. It's hard for me to believe that 3 years ago I was in your exact position. In fact, I sat right about there. So that feels simultaneously like a lifetime ago and like just yesterday. Enjoy your time at UVA. It has been an awesome place to go to medical school. I'm positive that over the next 4 years you will learn, grow, and have more fun than you could ever have imagined. Congratulations and good luck, class of 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. It's now my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Elizabeth Carr. Dr. Carr obtained her Bachelor of Arts in Chemistry with distinction from the University of Virginia in 1984, and then subsequently from the School of Medicine in 1988. She was elected to the Raven Society during her time in medical school in 1987. She then did residency in pediatrics at Medical College of Virginia, where she received the Emily Gardner Memorial Award for the Outstanding Female Resident in her class. She is a fellow of the American Academy of Pediatrics and works in private practice in Lake Oswego, Oregon, where she also serves as chair of the Charitable Giving Committee. Dr. Carr is also past president of the UVA Club of Oregon and chair of the Regional Selection Committee in Portland, Oregon for the Jefferson Scholars Foundation. She served on the UVA Medical Alumni Board of Directors from 2005 till 2010. I must have missed it because she came back again in 2011 and has served since that time. She is currently president of the Medical Alumni Association, and please welcome her.
Good afternoon and welcome to the class of 2019. I'm very proud and honored to be part of your white coat ceremony. The University of Virginia Medical Alumni Association, established in 1949, is an independent organization of more than 12,000 members dedicated to the service for the benefit of the School of Medicine and the University of Virginia. The University of Virginia Medical School Foundation, established in 1972, exists as the financial arm of the University of Virginia Medical Alumni Association. Its mission is to receive, invest, manage, and disperse funds for the express purpose of maintaining and constantly improving the state of excellence of the University of Virginia School of Medicine. With headquarters located at 1111 West Main Street, remember that address, not too far from here, and a small full-time staff, the association sponsors more than 50 annual programs and events for students, alumni, and house staff. We hope to see all of you at some of these events. Some of the most popular events include Medical School Reunion Weekend, the White Coat Ceremony, Money Talks, financial lectures, Legacy Connect, and Family Day. In addition, the association publishes the University of Virginia School of Medicine Vitals magazine, the Capsule bi-monthly e-newsletter, and annual alumni directories for reunion classes. Special student services include an emergency loan program, scholarship assistance, the host program for fourth-year students who are traveling across the country to interview for residencies, the UVA Med Connect mentoring program, and Global Health Travel Awards. As Dr. Dinsmore mentioned, this white coat ceremony is generously supported by the School of Medicine class of 1965. Thank you, Charlie. The Medical Alumni Association and Medical School Foundation recognize that the rising cost of medical education has a great impact on the financial debt burden of our medical students. 86% of the members of the recently graduated class of 2015 incurred debt from medical school. Our organization puts forth a tremendous effort to reduce this burden by providing scholarship funding. Scholarship funding has been generously provided by our medical alumni through individual class or class projects. We are proud to say that this past academic year, the Medical Alumni Association provided over $1.2 million in scholarship money to support medical and nursing students. Approximately 27% of the medical student body will receive scholarship funding from the Medical Alumni Association this year. In addition to scholarship funding, our organization provides other vital funding to the School of Medicine, supporting research projects, lectureships, faculty and house staff support, and other School of Medicine priorities. In fiscal year 2015, we were proud to provide over $1.9 million to the School of Medicine. Our alumni have a tradition of giving back to the school in very meaningful ways. Many of you have noticed that the Learning Studio in the Medical Education Building was named for one of our alumni, Dr. Charles Hurst, who made a generous contribution to support the building. The auditorium, named by the class of 1958, is another testament to the dedication of our alumni. Earlier this week, our executive director, Barry Collins, presented to each of you your stethoscopes, which we will provide to the incoming class each year. Many of the scholarships that you will receive from us are contributions from either classes or individual alumni. Our tradition of giving begins with our students. Each year, the graduating class holds a fundraising project in order to give back to the institution. Our graduating class of 2015 achieved a remarkable 85% participation rate in the giving program, a participation rate that we hope you will exceed as when you become fourth-year students. My final thoughts are to encourage you to become an active member of your Medical Alumni Association. You learned earlier this week, as students, you are already official members of the association. Get involved as students and stay involved as alumni. Who knows, you may find yourself continuing to return to the university you're passionate about many years after your graduation, just as I have some 27 years later. Good luck to all of you as you launch your medical school careers, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Carr. It's now my great pleasure to introduce our incoming dean, Dr. David Wilkes, who will take over as dean on September 15th. Dr. Wilkes received his Bachelor of Science degree from Villanova University and stayed in Philadelphia for his medical degree at Temple. He then completed residency in internal medicine at Temple before pursuing a pulmonary and critical care fellowship at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center. He is also a military veteran, having served 3 years as a major in the U.S. Air Force Medical Corps. Prior to joining us at the university, Dr. Wilkes served as the Executive Associate Dean for Research Affairs at the Indiana University School of Medicine. Please welcome Dr. Wilkes, and thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon to everyone, and I have to say that I'm really honored to be here today on this very special occasion. I don't start working until September 15th. However, I felt it was very important for me to be here to participate with my first incoming class. So as a new dean at the University of Virginia, I share the excitement and anticipation that you, as all the students, feel as you embark upon this path to becoming a physician. Several years ago, I could share this experience with my daughter, who was a medical student at one point, and that she was waiting for a white coat. I knew what that felt to be the parent of someone who was going through this process. You feel immense pride, and as your loved ones watch you begin the incredible journey to becoming a practicing physician. And I attended medical school once, so I know what the students are thinking. There's this old guy on the podium with stories from his past to tell you. But since I understand your sense of urgency, and I've only been given 7 minutes to speak, I promise I'll be very brief. So I want to speak with you on a topic that epitomizes what we do as physicians, which is simply to provide comfort to patients. Something so obvious in theory can be very difficult to do in practice. And yes, I'll tell you a story, and it's a true story, and it's one that had happened to me. So it all started years and years ago, while I was a 6th grade student in a Catholic elementary school in Philadelphia. I was headstrong, or as my parents would say, I had a problem with authority. However, for those of you who experienced parochial schools years ago, you knew that the nuns who taught there really weren't there to be challenged. So as it often occurred, my behavior caused me to run afoul of the rules, which led to disciplinary action. And during the nun's attempt to correct my attitude, I countered her efforts physically, meaning I actually struck her. So needless to say, landing a hand on a nun was akin to a capital offense. Not just in school, but also at home. My parents weren't amused, and it was a very bad day in my household. My father told me that this event would come back to haunt me years later in life. So I'm a 12-year-old. So later in life meant maybe the next day, perhaps the following week. But actually, it occurred more than a decade later when I was a second-year medical student that his prophetic words would come true. So each of the students here today will learn how to take a history and physical from a real patient. It's part of what we do. It's really at the core of what we do as physicians. And it's such an important aspect of medical education that you're graded on it. But being a novice medical student, having to take a complete history and physical is very daunting. The patient knows that you're a rookie and trying to look good. The student knows that they are under scrutiny by not only the patient, but also the preceptor doing the teaching. So for me, my big day came. After practice sessions doing partial exams and limited history taking, I got the opportunity to put it all together. I was eager for my first history and physical with a real live patient, a complete history and physical. So I remember being all dressed up in my white coat, identical to the ones that you'll receive today. And my pockets, as you heard from Lauren, were filled with a lot of tools. I had stethoscope, pen-like tongue depressors, and back then we even carried little black doctor's bags. So I knew I was ready, and I knew that I would do a good job. In addition to being headstrong, I didn't suffer from a lack of confidence. So I went to the hospital room where my patient awaited, and my preceptor was with me in tow. I opened the door, pulled back the privacy curtain, and lying in the bed was a nun. Not the same nun from the 6th grade, but a nun nonetheless, hardly words. I was simply speechless. Whatever confidence I had within me drained out on the floor. My father was right. Life's prior events do come back to haunt you. It's challenging enough to do physicals in the first place, but on a nun? So my mind was racing. How do you examine the breasts of a nun? Or should you? Do I take a history of alcohol or illicit drug use? Should I assume I know the answers to the questions for his sexual history? Perhaps don't even ask those questions. So who knows the answers to these important questions? I knew at that time that I did. I was flustered, traumatized, and full of uncertainty. My game plan was fully blown from the start, and I don't remember why she was in the hospital, but I do remember feeling overwhelmed and completely helpless. My preceptor had no clue why I had decompensated. So instead of me taking the lead, my patient helped me settle down so I could proceed, and it was obvious to her and my preceptor that I was floundering. I don't know how I did it, but I passed the exam that day, and perhaps it was due to a divine intervention. So after my ordeal was over, my preceptor, who had no idea, again, didn't know why I was having trouble, he asked me how I felt during the encounter. And I told him I was scared, I felt helpless, and that I was completely out of control. I was not in control of the situation. And he told me, remember today, because what I experienced was exactly what patients experienced when they encountered doctors at the time of illness. He said that because of this, above everything else, physicians must provide comfort to the patients we care for. Comfort is the human element of medicine, and it often gets lost in the advances of science and technology that is so much part of medicine today. So providing comfort to our patients may seem like an obvious thing to do, but really it's not easy. And it isn't always on the radar screen in the day-to-day activities of patient care. So how do we ensure that we provide comfort to our patients? I suggest focusing on 3 elements. They aren't new, you've heard these before, just perhaps not in this context. And they are first, see and be seen. Second, listen. And third is touch. So I'll go through each of these very briefly. So see and be seen. Communication with your patient is clearly essential to any encounter, but often you won't see your patient because you may be preoccupied with data entry. Many of you have been to the doc and they're entering data on the computer while they're talking to you. You may be preoccupied with the next patient or the incessant phone calls or pagers that are happening. In addition, we make it difficult for our patients to see us. This may seem somewhat counterintuitive, but if you're looking at a computer screen, entering data during a patient visit, then the patient simply can't see your face. In the hospital, many of our patients aren't able to see your face due to restrictions in their movement. They may not even be able to turn their neck to look to you at the side of the bed. And when this happens, our patients feel powerless and very, very uncomfortable. This only heightens their anxiety. The next element is to listen. We are under constant auditory assault. Beepers, phones, monitoring machines, the hallway chatter. Sometimes it's just simply hard to hear what our patients are saying. Or for whatever reason, our patients may have difficulty telling us what is wrong. But despite these challenges, we must listen to what our patients are saying. And while you listen, you must see. Note that the physical and verbal responses to your questions. And did your patient look away from you? Did they shift their posture, sit more upright in your chair, or lean towards you? All of this is communication, and it is information. So simply hearing isn't enough. You must also learn to listen and also see what your patient is doing in response to your questions. And the final element